You are now listening to Sir Inc.'s The Experience Podcast, where we talk about anything and everything kink. Now, this content is only catered to those that are 18 and above and may not be safe for work, or as we like to say, NSF. But remember, you can always listen to us during your private time. Hello, kinky and kinkers folk out there. My name is Sir Inc. And on this podcast, let's talk about how to silence our mind, why silencing our mind is important, and what are some methods to do to get to help get her in a place where she's more useful not only to you but to herself. So let's talk about that. There are some brilliant submissives out there. And one of the things that many of them struggle with is overthinking. You know, if you give them a scenario, or if you give them a task without enough detailed instructions, they're liable to go left or go off the rails, right? Or ask you a bunch of questions that mess around and have you very frustrated with even asking them to do the task in the first place. So how do we quell those things? How do we work with those who overthink? Well, the number one thing is to understand what that trigger is. Understand, do they overthink about everything or do they overthink about certain things? So for example, there are some people that work well, especially submissives. They work well when given instructions, clear-cut instructions on what to do with no gray area. Gray area allows them to overthink the situation. And when people overthink, they tend not to get anything done. They tend to not walk in any direction or do any one thing. They're sort of at that point in the road, that fork in the road, and they just don't know where to go. They're not going to go left, they're not going to right, because they don't feel as though they know enough, and they're going to overthink, well, if I go left, that outcome, if I go right, that outcome. And you guys know I've already talked about this. Women have such expansive minds that, you know, a lot of them, you have to bring them in and get them to focus. And the beautiful part is these type people tend to be very organized in their life. They tend to have things mapped out. They tend to have things set up in a way to have good outcomes. But even with that being said, it takes them a minute to even get to deciding on, okay, this is what I'm going to do and go forward, right? So a lot of them, what do they need you for as a dominant? They need you to narrow the choices down and to tell them to walk in this direction, right? And a lot of walking in that direction is sometimes, no matter if the outcome is bad, I can help cover up that mistake. Or this is why I say go in this direction, because I see it this way as a man. See, men, again, are fiery creatures, right? Women are moist, watery creatures. What does that mean? Water is expansive. Fire is not. Fire is very focused, right? So men, sometimes the fault of men is that we don't see the whole picture. We only see what's in front of us, right? So the balance is, when you have a submissive, is they have that all-around view. You take what they say, that all-around view, and then you get them to dial in on the direction that you feel as though is the best direction to walk in for the success that they're looking for the outcome that they're looking for. And there's definitely things that we can do. We can offer them up. You know, example, like telling them to meditate, giving them things that make them focus, journals, meditation, kneeling, poses. there are certain things that you can give them that help them to dial in, to shut the noise out and focus in on what you're asking them to do, or focusing in on a task that's going to help them achieve the outcome that they want. They can't help but overthink, and it's not necessarily overthinking. They can't help but to think of all the scenarios, but you want to give them a direction that brings about one scenario. It's a gift and a curse. There's nothing wrong with people that overthink. There's completely nothing wrong with it. The problem is if someone overthinks to the point where they're unproductive. That's the downside of it. But once these people, even without your help, once they make a decision, they pretty much have success with it because they done thought all the scenarios out. You just don't want them to spend too much time thinking on each scenario. You want them to spend more time focusing on that winning scenario. And it's up to you, the dominant, to point that out. And not only to point that out, but to help them to dial in to all the things that's going to lead to success. And not the obstacles that's in the way, but all the things that they have to do to achieve success. And I can tell you journals, kneeling, but there are different things that suit different people. So what may do it for a submissive of mine may not do it for a submissive of yours. Maybe your submissive needs something a little bit more. Maybe, standing in a corner holding a glass in their hand, or whatever the case may be, maybe your submissive needs something different to help them focus in. Maybe they need certain tasks that help them dial in, other than kneeling and things like that. Maybe they need something along the lines of what they're doing. So if someone is trying to learn to swim, maybe you get them to focus on like not having a fear of water. And what do? You give them certain exercises that get them around that apprehension or that overthinking of all the scenarios that can happen if they jump in the pool, they jump in the ocean. So there's definitely things that help. But we have to be the orchestrators of the focus. And we have to make sure that they stay focused on it. And these beautiful submissives that are mentally expansive in this way, they're looking for a rock. Because they can become like the kite in the wind, but they're looking for that one boulder, that one rock that catches their string and holds them. No matter how they're moving around in the wind, that holds them in place so they don't fly away. And one of the repercussions of allowing your submissive to just overthink and fly away is, number one, she won't be any good for you and what you are trying to achieve with her. That can be on delay. That process can become frustrating. And number two, they won't be productive for themselves, and that can bring about depression. It can bring about them not feeling as valuable as they are. That will come with them not respecting their own decision making, which is more than likely good if they just eliminated some of the fat off of the meat, and just a deeper understanding of, everybody's mind. The human mind throws thousands of thoughts in there every day. Yet we're not to entertain all those thoughts, right? Some thoughts are just, your mind just threw that up there. It's not necessarily who you are or what you want to do. Your mind just throws that up. But what happens is we say emotion. And in spiritual terms, we call emotions energy and motion. And when you have a thought, to go from a thought to actuality takes energy and motion, right? And motivation. So just because your mind throws this thought up of like, yo, I want to kill everybody. and I say that lightly. I know that's a little dramatic, but just stay with me here. Like, I want to kill everybody. So, like, okay, you're frustrated in this moment at work, your coworkers or whatever, or your kids or your family, whatever the case may be, but you know not to dance with that thought. You know damn well not to put energy and motivation behind that thought because of the outcome. The outcome is tragic, and it's going to end with you not having freedom, or it ends in your life ending, right? And so I know that's a little dramatic. I don't mean to go that far. We're definitely in a time where people are just so triggered and not understanding how not to energize those bad thoughts. But this is what I'm saying. This is how important our role as dominants are in a submissive's life. Therefore, I never recommend that doms play around with different subs. If you're going to take a sub on, really take her on and be in her life, especially the ones that overthink. Now, the ones that's more self-contained, you could be a little more leisure with them. But there's a lot of them that needs the grounding that dominance bring them. But what do you think? I would love to hear your thoughts on this matter. So you know what to do. Put comments below. You can always email me at sirinq09@gmail.com, or you can inbox me on sirinq on any platform that I'm on: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. And until next time.